You spend all those years socking away money in your retirement accounts.
What happens when it's time to start living off that savings? How do you make it last the rest of your life?
That's next on MoneyTrack.
MoneyTrack is made possible by the Investor Protection Trust. The Investor Protection Trust is a nonprofit organization devoted to investor education. Over half of all Americans are now invested in the securities markets, making investor education and protection vitally important. Since 1993, the Investor Protection Trust has worked with states across the country to provide the independent, objective investor education needed by all Americans to make informed investment decisions.
This is MoneyTrack. Your guide to investing and protecting your money. This is MoneyTrack.
Hi everybody, I'm Pam Kruger. Welcome to MoneyTrack.
And I'm Jack Gallagher. You know, we're all very comfortable here, me in my beach chair, Chloe in front of us. And as Pam and I dig our feet into the sands of Cape Cod, the mood is relaxed.
Very relaxed. We're hosting today's show from New Seabury on Cape Cod. Now, our program is about money and investing, and today's show is all about the R word.
That's right. Pam is talking about retirement. You know, the Cape has always been the perfect example of one of those resort communities that's attracted retirees. And in fact, 1 in every 4 Cape Codders is already living out their golden years right here.
And you know, that's about to become 1 in 3, which is pretty much in line with the trend everywhere else. There are 78 million baby boomers total, and 30 million of them are just about to quit their day jobs so they can take it easy, take life a little slower.
Take up surfing.
Absolutely. Speaking of surfing, these boomers are actually riding the first big wave to retirement. Call them early boomers, Jack, and most of them don't really know if they're going to be able to afford to kick back like this.
Well, that'd be unfortunate. Go get that, Chloe. Well, think about today's show as your retirement reality check.
That's right, reality check, because we know that by the time you hit your 60s, you're probably going to have another 20 years to live. And the question is, how much is it going to cost you to live each year?
And here's the reality part. Will your investment savings last as long as you? Joey Chen reporting from MoneyTrack sets the stage. Right, Joey?
Ah, the good life, the golden years. Work's over, time to relax. Not so fast. Turns out retirement's filled with sand traps. Even folks who think they're ready often aren't.
I don't think you ever can be totally prepared. She's not retired. No, well, yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Yeah, I have to talk to my husband about he handles all the funds. Yeah. I spend the money and he handles the funds.
Our retired golfers are living on Easy Street. But try making that retirement nest egg last 20, 30 years. It's not quite as easy. Harry Lohmeyer's pension hasn't come close to keeping up with inflation.
Well, I'm still drawing the same pension I did when I retired in 1985. I haven't had an increase.
Of all people, you'd think Stan Hinden would have done everything right. After all, he wrote the book on how to retire happy.
I wrote 2 columns a week. One was on the stock market and one was on mutual funds. But I never wrote about retirement. I made this sudden, terrible discoveries that I didn't know anything about Social Security, about Medicare, about Medigap, about long-term care, about pensions, or 9 other things.
No, you're not alone. It's tricky knowing how to play those retirement cards just right. Oh, so you've got a pension? Well, is it safe? And what about that 401k? Guess what? A national pension rights group says most of us don't end up with enough to make it through even 1 year of retirement.
Half of all people who have 401k plans have $15,000 in their accounts. And even those who are closer to retirement, 45 to 65, they have only about $23,000 in their account. So that, you know, what's that going to buy in retirement? A latte?
Retirement requires a lot of attention. Chances are you will have to cut your spending, and it's tough to get the details right. Even figuring out how much cash to take out of your 401k is a gamble.
You get a lot of people who retired and then woke up one day and found, wow, I've spent a lot of money that I shouldn't have spent.
If it's got a hard center.
If Stan and his wife Sarah had started investing when they got out of college, even just a few dollars a week, they could have had a much larger nest egg now.
So when I was 25 or 30, I could not conceive of retirement because at that point I was married, had a house, 3 kids, and could barely make ends meet.
Nope, nobody wants to hear it. But in hindsight, our retired golfers say they could have lowered their own financial handicap if.
I would have probably tried to accumulate more of it.
Well, how would you have done that?
That's a good question.
Did you save enough money?
Yep.
You did?
Yeah. Here's part of it right here.
I'm trying to spend it before I go.
You're trying to spend it all before you go? Why is that? What about the children?
The children are 50. They can take care of themselves.
One of the comedians once said, I've got enough money to last me the rest of my life, unless I want to buy something.
A happy retirement is a hit-or-miss target. Sink the right investments, line up the next 20 years, and you're fine. But most retirees admit they didn't have a clue how much it would really cost. Elroy Blake did it right. He scrimped, he saved, and today he's comfortable.
You know, because some folks are on Social Security only, but I'm blessed to be on pension and Social Security, so that's a blessing.
People who are retired and have good pensions, they tend to be the luckiest people.
Living on Social Security just isn't enough. They all need to grab the right amount out of their 401k each year, and that can be complex. But our gal golfers don't like to think about those numbers. They're a little focused on, well, other figures.
I'm the oldest, but I'm not telling you
right
how old
behind
I am.
you. Oh, come on, tell us how old you
No,
are.
I will not.
Don't ask us our handicap. That's secret.
Yeah, well, that's big.
I'm Joey Chen in Washington for MoneyTrack.
So those women were really funny. I mean, age is totally irrelevant, right? Right?
In dog years, I'm totally with you.
No, the face of retirement is completely different now.
It certainly is not your daddy's retirement.
Nope.
Now, the people who are retiring today, they crave activity. They want to get healthy, they want to stay in shape, and they want to do fun things. And guess what? The good life costs real money.
So shuffleboard, you're saying, is definitely out.
Yeah, probably. And I'll tell you, adventure travel and maybe some bocce ball might be in. But experts used to say that once you do retire, your spending's going to go way down, but not anymore.
So big money plus a lack of planning is going to equal a shortage of funds. I mean, we just saw Stan, who really should have known better.
And Stan now has a part-time job because of the fact that he wildly underestimated what his medical bills were going to be after he retired. And we hear the frightening stories all the time. The question is, are they accurate?
Right. And this AARP Roper survey tells us whether or not these early boomers are really ready. 83% in the study say they realize they'll need more money than their parents' generation needed. But 1 in 3 said they never saved anything, which means either their standard of living will drop radically or they'll work full-time. And 42% of these boomers believe Social Security will be their most important source of income.
Yeah, but realistically, Social Security checks might cover 1/3 of most people's living expenses. And we would love to hear from more of you on this topic. Just head to our website at MoneyTrack.org. Thank you, Chloe.
Kruger.
What you got?
Pam, it's for you. It's Ben Stein.
Kruger.
He's saying people are going to need more than they think they will.
Ben? Ben, can you hear me now?
Pam.
Talk to him when you're done.
Jack.
The average savings per household, it depends on who you talk to about it, but are something between $50,000 and $100,000. That is not going to yield enough income for people to retire on.
So, Ben, you sound like there's a good reason to be anxious.
For most of us, we do need to worry. We need to worry plenty. We need to worry a lot. It's like that old ad from years ago for a movie, be afraid, be very afraid. There's a lot to be afraid of about retirement.
Well, now I'm sure I'm going to be flipping burgers for the rest of my life.
Oh, you'd be fine.
Excuse me, can I an iced tea, please? Would you like one? Yes, thanks. All right, it's time for the MoneyTrack Quiz question, and I bet you know what this one's about.
Now, if you have retirement accounts from work, then you probably already know that the government requires you to start taking minimum distributions from those accounts when you turn 70 and a half. Here's the quiz question. If your employer allows you to leave your money in the 401k plan once you've stopped working, will the IRS let you keep that money growing tax deferred as long as you live? Now, here are the choices. A, yes, as long as you have the retirement account and you leave it alone, you can put off taking the money out forever. B, no chance. You have to withdraw the minimum when you turn 70 and a half. And C, Uncle Sam will let you postpone that withdrawal and keep that deferral going for another year after you retire.
And we'll have the answer to that question in just a little bit. Now, we have so far focused on the challenge that these new retirees will face. Let's get some solutions. That's where our Investing 101 segment comes in.
Our guest professor this week is David Bach. He's well known for his many books about money. He's CEO of Finish Rich Media and author of this book, Start Late, Finish Rich. We love the title of that. Hey, David.
Hi, guys. It's great to be with you.
Well, David, we're glad that you could join us. Now, we're putting ourselves in the shoes of somebody who's just about to stop working for good. How does that person determine whether he or she can truly afford to retire?
The first question I ask anyone that says they want to retire is, what does retirement look like to you? What are you going to do that first day on retirement? But more importantly, what are you going to do the first year on retirement? And let's go out 3 years from today. If you retire today, and I get together with you 3 years from today, what will you be doing? What will a typical day be like? Where will you be living? And then we have to work backwards, because we have to know what kind of a life do you want to have in retirement, and then we can really start focusing on what will that cost.
Now, once you've done this, you'll have a pretty good estimate of what your new lifestyle is going to cost you each year. And by the way, this is a mental exercise that you should be doing 1 or 2 years before you stop working, not the day before. Now, David, are these new retirees going on spending binges after they leave the working world?
We see people spend more money that first, second, and often third year. Now, by the third year, expenses do tend to go back to normal because most people have gotten a lot of this out of their system after the first 18 months after retirement.
Now, for people who do have retirement and investment accounts, this is the time to start tapping into them. And we have a question from a viewer who knows how much his investments are worth and how much he plans to spend a year once he does retire. But what he doesn't know is how much of his savings he can draw out every year without risking running out of money. In other words, his spending rate.
Neil joins us now, and it looks like he's at his favorite diner in Chicago.
Hi guys, I own a home and have almost $230,000 in retirement accounts. We can live off of $40,000 a year, so I figure we can take out 10% from the money we've saved. I just don't want to run through all the savings too early.
And Neil, how do you have that money invested right now?
I'm mostly in stock and bond funds.
Okay, so the value of your investment accounts are going up and down, of course, on a daily basis along with the rest of the market. But overall, your investments are probably growing at about 7 to 8% a year on average. I say take out about 4 to 5% of that $230,000 each year. That's pretty conservative. David, Neil says that he wants to take out 10%, which of course would give him more to live on, but it might eat away his savings a little bit too fast. Do you agree?
Good rule of thumb is whatever your portfolio is, don't take more than 10% out a year. 10% a year is too much. I like to see you pulling out of your principal annually less than 5% a year. I think those are good numbers to use. You know, if you're pulling out 5% a year and your money's growing at 7 or 8%, well, then your money keeps growing, even in the face of inflation. So, you know, really, you have to look at what is your money invested and what's the return that's getting.
Well, everyone's situation is different, but in Neil's case, if he withdraws the 5%, he gets about $12,000 a year, again, without biting into his principal.
That's right. Now add in some Social Security, which might give him another $15,000 or $17,000 a year, which puts him at almost $30,000. But he says he wants $40,000, so he could opt to take out more from his savings, say 7% a year. But he's going to spend some of his principal, but still, it's not terribly risky.
Or he could consider selling his house, move into a less expensive home, add that cash from the sale to the investment mix. Let's ask David Bach what he thinks.
I had one client of mine that had a $600,000 home in Danville, California. It was all paid off. That was their piggy bank. They sold it. They bought a home in Arizona for $200,000, and they were able to retire completely off that money from their house.
Well, of course, there are lots of options for people who are debt-free and own their own homes.
Sure, but take somebody who's, say, 55, who has not saved enough. While they're still in the working world, they do have a chance to play catch-up. Right, David?
You got to double down on your retirement savings. You have to pay yourself first and pay yourself first faster. Take advantage, first of all, of the government's generous catch-up provisions. The government has allowed retirees over the age of 50 to put more money away in their IRA accounts and in their 401k plans than someone under 50. Put the maximum away. Now that may mean looking for what I call your latte factor or your double latte factor. You go out every day and you have yourself a latte at Starbucks or a muffin. You just spend $5. Now it's a metaphor. It could be cigarettes, it could be bottled water, it could be cable television. I don't know what it is, but if we can help you find an extra $10 a day as a retiree, $10 a day extra is a lot of money. If you and your spouse do this, if you each save an extra $10 a day, you're now at almost $7,500 during the year. You put that extra money away into a good growth portfolio for the next 10 years, and you're going to have, ideally, a couple $100,000 in additional savings when you reach retirement.
David Bach, best-selling author, thanks for joining us.
Great advice today, David.
Well, tell Chloe I said hello, you guys. It's been really fun being on the show with you.
She's taking a nap now.
Yeah, well, now we understand why those retirement accounts were so important for all those years. Now, Pam, if there's one thing I've learned from working with you, it's that you like to keep things simple. And right now, Pam's going to give you her Money Minute.
That's right. In the next 60 seconds, I'm going to show you how to determine your own spending rate once you stop working. Start out on MoneyTrack.org and click on Money Minutes. What you want to know is how much of your retirement savings you can spend for the rest of your life without running out of money. So I'm using this calculator from Dinky Town. Funny name, I know, but it works. On the left-hand side here, I'm supposed to enter my total life savings. Let's say that that's going to be about $750,000. I'm putting 0 here because I won't be making any new contributions. And my rate of return, I'm going to presume, might be 6% on my savings. And I presume I'm going to live to be about 85. Now, I'm hoping that my $750,000 will give me at least $3,500 a month to spend. Let's find out. Click here to adjust the numbers for inflation, and what I get is just a hair over $3,500 a month, or $42,000 a year. Not bad. That means I'm spending 5% of my life savings every year, so that is my spending rate.
She's always got it down to a minute. Bit of a show-off. Okay, remember we threw a quiz question at you earlier. Does anyone remember that, class? Show of hands, anyone?
And the question was about taking your money out of your retirement accounts. Now, if your employer lets you keep your money growing, tax-deferred in the 401k, even after you stop working, will the IRS let you keep that money growing forever?
And the choices were A, yes, if you leave the retirement account alone, you can put off taking the money out. B, no chance. You have to withdraw the minimum amount when you're 70 and a half. Or C, you can postpone the withdrawals until the year after you've retired. What's the answer?
The convoluted C answer, of course. The IRS gives you another year's worth of tax-deferred growth.
See, the tax laws aren't helping us here. Why can't you just let your money grow tax-deferred forever?
This is only a half-hour show. How can I possibly answer that? Besides, we're trying to relax. Now, all of the rules and much, much more about retiring with enough money are on our MoneyTrack.org website. Here comes the dog. There goes the address. Head to MoneyTrack, that's .org, and click on Retire.
We've been talking about how every penny counts after you retire. This is a good time to alert you to an all-too-common scam affecting retirees across the country.
That's right. We're talking about con artists who pass themselves off as elder experts and even carry credentials. But in California, we found one so-called senior specialist who retirees trusted, and now they're broke.
Jeff Butler turned his back on the camera during a recent court hearing earlier this year, just as he's accused of turning his back on 129 senior citizens. He's accused of bilking them of more than $10 million.
I can't think of what to say to the man. He has ruined my life, my dreams, all my dreams.
Jose and Hisako Ruano are both immigrants who had been living the American dream. Jose proudly served in the Army. The couple raised a family, and when Jose wanted to invest their pensions, he turned to a senior specialist.
The name of the company is Senior Services Information Service. It is quite obvious that he was going after senior citizens.
There was the promise of a 12% return, and for a while, the dividend checks arrived every month. Butler encouraged the Ruanos to reinvest, and they did, their entire pension.
Immediately when he got the IRS transfer, which were the biggest investments that we had, one for $68,000 and the other one for $123,000, immediately the checks were stopped.
People want to obtain the bank.
Orange County prosecutor Bill Overtoom says Butler and associate Holly Avon put together a classic Ponzi scheme. Early investors, like the Ruanos, were being paid dividends with money collected from new investors. Butler's wife, Peggy, is charged with tax evasion.
At this point, we've been unable to find any of their money, and I don't believe that they will get their money back.
The Butlers do own a luxury home on the market for more than $2 million. Butler is in jail on $10 million bail. Ironically, the same amount he's accused of stealing from his elderly clients.
I cry because I let my family down. I let all my family down. Why this man made such an idiot out of me?
Embarrassment makes many victims reluctant to come forward in cases like these. Many are widows in failing health, too sick to appear in court to testify.
It's not uncommon that we find that our victims are having strokes.
The Ruanos are both in their late 70s, hanging on as best they can. While court proceedings drag on, they believe there will be ultimate justice for Jeff Butler.
He hurt me, he hurt other people, but God will get him for all the abuse, all the suffering that he brought to all people, innocent people, ignorant people like me. That's it.
Now, the case isn't expected to go to trial until the fall of 2008. If convicted on all charges, Butler faces more than 100 years in jail.
So sadly, some of his alleged victims won't even live to see a verdict.
That's true. Now, you know, Pam, in just a few more years, I'm going to be one of those early retirees we've been discussing this show.
Yeah, well, you know, I think that the coming of age is actually pretty cool. Did you see that Goldie Hawn made the cover of AARP magazine for turning 60? I mean, who ever thought of Goldie Hawn as being 60?
Now, you think of that, she's probably set in terms of retirement.
Oh, money-wise, yeah, absolutely. You know who I wonder about?
Oh.
Whether or not he's on track for retirement?
Oh.
Cato Kalin.
Cato Kalin?
I worry about the guy.
A name we haven't heard in a while. You worried about him? Why don't we just ask him? Cato, what's your retirement investment philosophy?
Hang around people that are wealthy.
Interesting. I should start looking for richer friends. All right. What's the worst investment advice you've ever gotten?
The worst investment advice I ever got was, Cato, don't invest. Wrong. Always invest. Read Forbes, read money magazines, and watch a lot of MoneyTrack shows. I am Cato Kalin from MoneyTrack. Thanks for watching the show, and I hope you make a lot of cash. Hey, by the way, do you want my bank PIN code?
I don't know about that. Do you want his bank PIN code?
I don't know what to say.
I think what we should do is sum up what we've learned on today's show. How does that sound? Now, it takes decades to build up that nest egg. So, a year or two before you stop taking a paycheck, figure out realistically what it's going to cost you to retire. That way you can decide if you're going to have to maybe get a part-time job or even continue to work a little longer.
Now, once you know what your new life is going to cost you each year, the next step is to determine your own spending rate. That's the amount of money that you can take out of those investment accounts every single year to live, but not run out of money.
And finally, older retirees are the target for scam artists. Typically, they have investment accounts, real estate, and they're trusting. But they also have the power to check up on anyone who's offering investment advice by calling their own state regulator's office or by checking our website. Now, let's get back to the fun stuff we were talking about, remember, before the show started.
Before Cato.
Pre-Cato, yes, exactly. For instance, where do you want to retire?
Oh, can't I just stay right here? Look, the tide's coming in. Chloe's happy.
Yes, you can stay here if you want, but the tide is coming in. Think about that for just a second. By the way, folks, on our website, we have our own MoneyTrack top 5 areas to retire. And here's a hint. We've included places that are grandkid and pet friendly. Look what I've got, Chloe. Go get it. Listen, I was thinking, would she fetch golf balls? Could you teach her to do that?
Why don't you both go fetch golf balls?
You'd like that,
I'll take a
wouldn't you?
nap. That is our show for today. We hope that we've helped you think about your own life after you retire. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching from the beautiful shores of New Seabury here on Cape Cod. That's it for this Money Track.
Now, question for you.
Yeah.
What do you think you're really going to be like when you're older, like much older?
Okay. Going to be much better looking. Going to be richer. Women will find me irresistible. And I will know Italian. That's my dream.
Don't wake him up.
Don't wake me. To work.
Chloe, come. Leash. Come here. Come here. Come here. Leash. Hey, 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 hey.
Not leave. Leash.
We're out here on the coast of New England where we're expecting at any minute buckets of sand will be coming our way.
Okay, we have a question in the back? Yes, what's your question? Cato, tell us about what you've invested in for your retirement and why. Why, that's a good question, sir. Ma'am, sorry. Glasses.
Now let's get back to the fun stuff we were talking about before the show.
I thought that would be great for my retirement because when I do turn 100, then I'm going to go to Vegas with my buddies and go clubbing. Where's my walker? I'm ready to party.
This is all good stuff. We'll use all of this. Keep rolling. This is the gold.
Yeah, I can feel it. I can feel it.